Hello and welcome to another episode of the Final Corner podcast. I'm Tom, joined as ever by Nick. You're okay?
Hello. Oh, yes.
Nice one. And because you're hearing the sound of my dulcet northern tones, it means that our even more northerly presenter, Colin, is not here. He's on holiday in Turkey somewhere. It's probably 40-odd degrees, so more fool him.
Oh, yes.
But we're here to talk about the 8th round of the 2025 British Touring Car Championship and a little bit of Formula One at the end. So stay tuned for some Zandvoort discussion. I was trying to think of some alliteration there, but I couldn't think of another word that beginning with Z. So
No,
we'll
the only
go
one
with
I can think of is Zany, and it doesn't really match.
some zany Zandvoort discussion. Anyway, BTCC, and there's quite a bit of news to dive into, first of all. Shall we discuss Toyota swapping engines?
News update.
Yeah, I thought that was quite a good idea, to be honest, considering their straight line speed has been poor all season. So yeah, they ditched, well, probably not the right word. They've swapped the Neil Brown Toyota engine out on two of their cars for the Swindon. Is it Swindon? It's not Swindon anymore, is it? But
M Sport.
Thank you, M Sport. So they've got the Toka engine in Shedden and Aaron Taylor Smith's car, whereas the other two cars are still running the old engine. And I believe they're not necessarily going to replace it with that, but they want to get comparison.
Well, it seems like a good idea. You alluded to him already, but obviously Josh Cook has also returned in place of Dolin, James Dolin, who had a pretty good season, I thought, for a debut year and a couple of years away from front-wheel drive cars.
Yes,
But,
I was reasonably impressed with him.
yes, and I think you mentioned in the last podcast that, the plan is for him to be back there in 2026. And I thought, has it been confirmed? But in the qualifying broadcast, he was interviewed by Louise, so he was present, and he was talking also about 2026 plans for this team.
That does seem to be the general idea, is that he's basically sitting out the rest of the year to come back stronger next year. And I think we spoke about it briefly, but I think it's because of all the driver swaps. I think if they could have, they would have probably replaced Buxton because he's the least experienced and wasn't supposed to be there till next year. But they can't swap another driver into that car because of the driver regulations.
Good theory. I'll buy into it. But it's great for Cook to be back on the grid as well. He was very good in this car last year, although things have changed a lot. And circling back to the engines, it's been one of them. So the Toyota engine is a custom-made unit. So the one that Buxton and Cook were still using by Neil Brown Engineering. It isn't really a Toyota engine. It's actually a BMW engine. The loophole in the rules being that the Toyota Supra also uses a BMW engine because that and the BMW Z4 were made, or will be made until, I think production's ending quite soon, actually, for those models. They're made in Austria together and they're on the same platform using BMW tech underneath. So that was the loophole for them to develop their own engine instead of what they used to use is the Toka unit.
Yep.
When it was made by Swindon. Now it's made by M Sport. There's also, I don't know if was it last year? There was a boost increase for the Toka engine, I think, which may have carried across to this year.
I think there was. I think there also was a small one this year as well at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, interesting. So not only are the Toyota slow in the straight line, but so is the BMW. Now they're developed in different ways, but it's the same engine tuner doing the work. Sounds like a slight on Neil Brown Engineering. I'm sure they're doing a great job. But it does look a little bit embarrassing when the Toyota going, well, we might as well try the Toka unit. And, we'll speak about qualifying soon, but I thought, oh, right, okay, this is going to be interesting. Find out who's going to be quicker. And they were all eliminated in the first part of qualifying. So
Yeah.
nothing seemed to change there. Although I do think there was a noticeable difference at one point, and I'll speak about that later on. Before we get to qualifying, nice livery on the, two of the, let's say, Napa cars, or Alliance Motorsport cars, but in Valvoline colours this time.
Yeah, and I couldn't see that there was a particular reason for it. It's just in homage to the Mondeos, but it didn't seem to be like an anniversary or anything like that that was announced anyway. But nice looking cars.
Amazing livery, and if you look at the same livery from 1995, which was Radicic, as Murray Walker would say, and Kelvin Burt, I think. The final year that Andy Rouse, his team, actually had the Ford contract and were competitive. it's a really done amazing job to be as close as they have
Yeah.
been to considering a different shape of car, different era of cars. So top work. I don't think there's any anniversary, but this team has run Valvoline colours on some of the cars each season towards the end of the year for one round at least in
Yeah.
most years.
Normally it's just Sam Osborne,
Yeah,
and this time he doesn't even get it.
no. So Valvoline is a partner with the team, and maybe there's a B2B deal with Napa that sells auto parts and Valvoline oil in its outlets. So there's probably
Yeah.
some deal there. But amazing livery. So it's Camish and Sutton this time. And that's the third livery Sutton's run this year because he had the black Napa to
Yes.
celebrate something or other. Can't remember what it was now. 100 wins?
Fourth livery, actually. I
Oh,
think
is
I
it?
just said
Oh, yeah.
livery, then, but livery because there was a
Because
unique Scottish one, wasn't there?
the,
For
the charity
Knockhill?
one, the charity one for Scotland. Yep.
Mm.
So if there was a company out there making models of these cars, they'd be having a field day because they have to make 4 Suttons for this season.
Yeah,
I follow the Australian Mudspot scene well. They've got a lot
actually,
of.
as well. Technically five for Sutton.
Is it really?
Well, because when they first ran it, he ran 100 as the number for 100 years and then went back to his 116 for the following round.
Oh, well spotted.
Pointless
Wowzers.
fact there.
No, that's fantastic. I love it. Yeah, I follow a company called Authentic Collectibles in Australia, and they do all the supercars, cars,
Mm.
awful sentence, in models. And I'd love there to be someone similar for the BTCC, but there isn't. The sport is smaller. Although Scale Electrics
Yeah.
do another awful sentence models, but they don't do the focus. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked here. It's medium and hard tires were the two tire compounds for this race, and final note on the Toyotas, they got deducted points because of engine swaps.
Yeah, I think it was team and driver points, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was to do with them choosing new engines either. I think it's just because Josh Cook was deducted it as well, even though they didn't swap the engines for those cars or the type of engine anyway. They must have swapped an engine.
Yep. Ah, yeah, true, yeah. So on to qualifying, and this is obviously the longer of the two Donington layouts. We raced earlier in the year on the shorter one, so you get the Melbourne hairpin and the S's as well. And so in qualifying, it started out dry. Like we already mentioned, all the Toyotas were knocked out immediately, but the track limits debacle rages on. I mean,
Yeah.
it's to be expected, but it was particularly bad in the first part of qualifying. Everyone seemed to tidy up a little bit later on.
Yeah. The part of me still feels it's a bit, it's annoying, but it is also, if the drivers stop going off the track, they're not going to get knocked out. But
100%.
yeah, there seems to be, I know it's hard for them to see the apexes and things sometimes, but I'm sure if they absolutely needed to, they could stay in track limits.
Yes.
Our friend, Mr. Max Buxton, he struggled because he didn't get a single lap. All
No.
of them were removed for track limits. But just to be the way this system works, he still qualifies ahead of Nick Halstead, who set a time.
Yes, that is very strange, isn't it?
Because I know they split it, so it's like all the odds and all the evens go on
Yes.
either side of the grid. But it still seems unfair that you set a time and someone doesn't, and you're behind them.
Yeah, if you don't set the time, there should be an exemption in the rules to you just start last.
Yeah.
It seems a small tweak, and it's not the first time this has happened this year, I don't think. I can't remember specifically when it was, but
Yeah, I think it's happened as well.
it should be a small amend for next year, I hope, which is especially because track limits will remain as strict as they are. So you've got back row is Buxton and Halstead, but also Cook, Taylor Smith and Shedden. Not great qualifyings from them. Jake Hill was an relatively early scalp as well, so he was in 11th. And you had also the two other BMWs were Rainford and Moffat, also well down there, which meant De Leon was by far and away the best WSR entry on the grid in this qualifying session.
Well, yes, of course, he was fourth, wasn't he? I was looking, thinking, where is he? I can't see him. I just think they did very well because the BMWs are not supposed to be competitive here, as they were at
Knockhill.
Knockhill and Brands Hatch earlier in the season. But I don't think they were miles off the pace like they have been at some other tracks. They're in the pecking order a little bit.
It also started raining about halfway through the session. And that also saw
Exciting.
very exciting, some tyre confusion. So in the second part of qualifying, both Rowbottom and Sutton were on the wrong tyres at the wrong time. I think Sutton went out on wets initially, then changed to slicks. By then it was too wet, but it was also too dry initially for the wets. Rob Button
Yeah.
did the inverse of that, but got the timings wrong. I think he even came into the pit lane to do a axle swap when other people didn't, and by that time it had got too damp to build the temperature up. So both of those out, not ideal for Sutton, especially on the championship perspective.
Yeah. I think it is worth that little gamble as well, though, because if it did pull off, he could have easily got through. But yeah, it turned out to be completely the wrong idea.
We should also note, I think that every single Hyundai was in the top 9. Yeah, I think so. So the car to be in around here, evidently, or
Yes.
what it appeared to be. We haven't mentioned so far Chris Biley doing a great job in third, but two other Hyundais at the top of the table. Tom Chilton versus Tom Ingram. Chilton took the pole, and it was his first pole for a billion years. I think it
Yeah,
was at Knockhill.
2011, wasn't it?
Yeah, Knockhill in a Aeon Focus, was it? This, in my opinion, is what we should be seeing for the next round and the previous round and the one before and the final few rounds because they're in the same equipment by the same
Hmm.
preeminent team that's doing a great job at the minute. But Chilton has more boost.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Ingram still does an amazing job, but he should not be able to be putting it on second when he's a championship leader.
Oh, it's nuts. Yeah, the rules are deliberately so that this doesn't happen.
Hmm.
So they're not working, but maybe the rules are working for everybody else. He's just impervious to it. It just goes to show how
Yeah.
strong he and the team and the car and the engine are.
Well, yeah, because he's always so much further ahead of his teammates usually on when they have the same
Yes.
spec and everything else. So,
Well, we are led to believe that.
well, yes.
I'll put the tinfoil hat away. It's okay. It's all right. Calming down. So, amazing performance from them. I thought the star of qualifying, though, was Mikey Doble. We've
Yeah.
well documented Power Max's awful tragedy where the thankfully no injuries, but their
Mhm.
full warehouse or workshop with all their cars and equipment, apart from like one truck that was parked around the corner, were burnt to a crisp. They've borrowed these Cupras. Inauspicious start at Knockhill, but what did you expect? But here it was like,
Yeah.
inclement conditions, best ever qualifying position for a Cooper, that would have been in
Yeah.
third.
Yeah, he did so well, and it was so unfortunate what happened. But especially as when they saw the replay of how it happened, that the roller went under both sides, and it just didn't quite go under the middle. So it must have been the tiniest amount.
In wet conditions, you have thicker tyres, for want of
Hmm.
a better expression, with the
Yeah.
tread on. So you have to adjust the ride heights appropriately. And this
Hmm.
being a new car and all this. He also locked up at one point and went through the gravel. You never know if that's actually sort of brought part of the splitter down a bit.
That was the argument from the team. Whether or not that's the case, we don't know. But yeah, it was very
It would make
unfortunate.
sense, though, wouldn't it?
I do think the weather played a huge part. I don't think in dry qualifying he would have been near the front, but it
No,
just
I don't think
shows
so.
driver skill. When
Yep.
the rain comes, you can make a difference.
Yeah, actually, I think Proctor was saying post qualifying in an interview that he was near Chilton on track. And Proctor was
Mhm.
pulling all the wet lines, and Chilton wasn't, and Chilton was quicker that way. So
Yes.
it could be a quirk of Donington.
Yeah, that was quite interesting because it's been resurfaced relatively recently. I believe it was last year it was resurfaced. I think. Might be thinking of another track, but maybe that's got something to do with it.
Yeah, people always talk about the flight path from the East Midlands Airport, which is right over the top of the circuit while
Hmm.
they're racing, and that making extra slippy in the rain. But there wasn't really much evidence of that in qualifying. So big shame. Double. He has to do the interview with ITV. Oh, amazing result! But Adam Weaver, is it the team
Hmm.
principal?
Yeah.
He refused to talk on TV. That was quite telling, I thought.
Yeah, they both knew at that point.
They did.
It was very professional of Doble to not acknowledge it, just to take the good press from it and not look
Yes.
annoyed or downbeat.
Yes, because he also did a separate interview with the BTCC, just like I think it's like a radio interview or a podcast interview, and he
Mhm.
was like, "Yeah, amazing result, blah blah." But obviously, knowing that it was all over at that point, they've all seen the roller not go properly under, and someone shake their head. So
Yeah.
very sad. It doesn't that would have changed the complexion of the whole race weekend, I think, because it would have added maybe a car that wasn't quite up there in dry conditions, and I think Mikey would have put on a great show defending and attacking, and
Yes.
to give this team an amazing result. But in the end, the most parts direct with Power Max Racing Cooper, they blocked out the final row of the grid because he was disqualified.
Yeah, sadly.
Alan Gow didn't read the script there.
He did later.
All right, so on to race one, and with double at the back, it was a clean run for three Hyundais at the front. I thought Smiley initially got the jump, but then sort of backed off, and formation flying for the top two initially.
Yeah. And Chilton had very good pace as well. It wasn't even that he was like holding Ingram up.
Yeah, it seemed that way. He had 6 times more boost laps, which clearly does help. That sounds like
Yes.
I'm taking something away there. You've got to have the latent pace to be still leading to then maximize that boost usage.
Oh,
So,
yes.
and the two Team Virtu cars, I just think were the class of the field. I mean, even if up to lap 2 or 3, they've got like a second or two on Smiley.
Yeah.
So it's different gravy. And all through the race, I think they were controlling their pace. I mean, let's not just. We'll jump into some race action in a minute, but let's might as well focus on the top two. So Chilton's leading Ingram, but obviously Ingram is the leading force for that team in the Drivers' Championship against Sutton. It's a 2-horse race. So I kind of thought that Chilton would pull over for Ingram to give him the race win. That didn't happen, but he still pulled over for him to get an extra point.
Yeah, which makes sense. I was just surprised when Ingram was allowed through, and I just assumed that was it. And then it's like, oh, hang on, Chilton's back in the lead. And then it's like, they're just going to give him the extra lap the extra point for leading lap. But yeah, didn't take the win away from Chilton, which was a nice touch.
Yes, and Chilton did slow down coming out the final corner. Goddard's on the last lap, but I think it was trying to get a formation style finish-ish. That's
Yeah.
what he said afterwards. But he did also take away the fastest lap.
Yes, which apparently he wasn't supposed to, but
No, but how can you judge that? You're pushing
No, exactly.
Yeah, and he's got like I say, the 7 boost laps versus 1.
Exactly, yeah. He was also told at one point as well, wasn't he, to start using the boost more. He
Right.
said. So, but yeah, it was a very good performance from him, and he wasn't gifted the win by Ingram. I don't think.
No.
I think he had the pace to be ahead the whole time. They just swapped for that point.
I think it was one of those things where if he got a good start and kept the lead early on, then they were almost free, apart from an order to swap for leading a lap point.
Yeah.
I think it was free to fight. They had such a gap over everyone else. What I would say is towards the end, Rowbottom was closing in. Rowbottom had a really strong race here, fought his way through from 7th on the grid initially
Yeah.
to finish 3rd. What did you make of the Napa/Valvoline car's performance in this race?
Mid is how I describe it. Sutton was really struggling. I think because he was getting in a few scraps as well in the midfield.
Yep.
Rowbottom, as you said, was doing really well, but Camish also didn't really seem to have the pace that much in this race. They were all there or thereabouts, but yeah, Rowbottom was clearly the fastest of them.
Camish, I think, at one point let Sutton through. I could be
Yes.
wrong there. So
Well, it also looked like he let Rowbottom through at one point. I don't know if it was this race, but
yes. I think he did. I think they made a decision that okay, Rowbottom, you try and they were trying to get past Chris Miley, I think, and Camish lets Rowbottom through, and you kind of think, oh well, they'll all follow through. It didn't quite work out like that. But Smiley, let's talk about him briefly. Through the race, he was just sort of steadily dropping back. I felt he finished 9th in the end. He didn't make a big mistake. He was just sort of didn't have the race pace from lap 1.
No, and the same was true of Lloyd as well. I think
Yeah,
obviously that car
14th by
was
the end.
better suited to the conditions when it was raining.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no pace compared to the Accelerate or Virtu cars. Morgan and Proctor had a good battle as well at one point, didn't they?
Yeah, no, it's good to see that they're actually all scrapping between them. I do think Morgan hasn't had the same pace as the other,
No.
as Ingram and Chilton. And Proctor has been ahead of him, but they seem a lot closer this weekend.
Yeah, there was a point where Proctor dived on him at Old Hairpin, but I think Adam Morgan got the run coming out. But then all that did was let Jake Hill pass both of them.
Yes.
So it was actually a fighting drive from Jake Hill to come from way far back on the grid. We'll just check notes, 11th. So he was much stronger in the race than any of his teammates. De Leon got boxed in on the opening lap, dropped to like ninth by that point, 11th
Yeah.
by the end. Just on Sutton, he was also pushed out wide by some of his teammates on the first lap, fell down a bit, but then did eventually fight back through the race bit by bit. He clearly had the pace. Camish helped him out, evidently. But Rowbottom didn't, presumably because Sutton didn't want to be on the medium tyre for the second race.
Yes, because Rowbottom actually said at one point, didn't he, that he slowed down, but Ash had already slowed down to be nowhere near him. So neither of them wanted that third place, which is a
Nope.
shame the way the rules are, but if that's how they are, so that's what they're going to play to.
Well, you've got to play to the rules yet, but
Mhm.
maybe, like you mentioned previously in previous podcasts, there's probably another tweak to add to our list for 2026, maybe
Yeah.
something with that rule. Don't know what. I don't have a better suggestion, so that's not ideal for me. But anyway, that's how it is. So Rowbottom did snag yet another podium. I also think like I say, he was closer to the Virtu cars, but they'd backed off by that point. They'd
Yeah.
done their switcher over, so I wasn't reading into it as in like, oh, he was actually quicker towards the end of the race, the Ford. He did say to Alan Hyde post race over the trackside speakers a very interesting quote, which is, "Oh, the Hyundais have only showed this amazing straight line speed in recent rounds, so they've probably been had it all along and saved it till now, which is clever." So that's another to my tinfoil collection. Cheers, Dan.
Yeah. It does seem to be Ingram in specifically, that
Yes.
was the thing. You don't
Yep.
seem to see this from Chilton, Morgan, or Proctor,
Mm.
which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, he's the one going for championship. Anyway, I need to move on from that. I think, yeah, there was plenty of good scraps in the race. Any particular you'd like to mention that we haven't already?
No, there was lots of nice manoeuvres, and there was quite a few sort of swapping of places between a few people. Um, I think Shedden and Rainford at the end were
Yep.
kept passing each other, trying to get fastest hard tyre or further up hard tyre.
The attitude of Shedden's Toyota in the final laps was no chance.
Yeah,
I like to see that. Another strong race from Shedden on the hard. I think he was very quick at Croft with the hard
Mm.
relative to others. And so in this race, he came through and he was second Toyota, but he was on the hard tyre. Mind you, so was Cook and Buxton. So take all that back. But still, he wasn't too far behind ATS or a different compound of rubber. So he finished top hard user. So in the prime position for the next two races, in theory. And
yeah,
to round up the Toyotas,
Yes.
Cook was a lowly 18th. I should mention him and Double had a really good fight, but it was kind of sad to see both those two drivers at the back of the field fighting for 17th
yeah.
and 18th.
I agree with that.
Cook was ahead. Double slowly caught back up, and then I think he sent it down the inside at the Melbourne hairpin. I don't think it was on the broadcast, but I happened to be stood there. I didn't see the end of it because then they went up to Goddard side by side, but eventually it looks like Double got ahead. And the final Toyota was
Max Buxton, who finished in 21st place, which seems to be his general finishing position at the moment, is sort of 19th to 21st.
him and Hamilton had a very good battle again off camera.
Yes, I did see a little bit of that. That was right at the end, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think they were quite close through the whole race, but you're right. But it grew to a crescendo at the end. Again, I saw them side by side coming out the Melbourne hairpin, but Hamilton prevailed there. It's good to see Nick, stick his elbows out.
Yeah,
And-
no, he's improved a lot over the years.
Yeah, it flies under the radar because he's still in the back part of the grid,
Mhm.
but he's much closer than he was. And speaking of which, actually, I would like to mention Nick Halstead, who was nowhere near being lapped, unlike Knockhill. So he's made progress in the Cupra.
Yes, which must be tricky as well with their new car.
Very much so. Right, so on to race two. So you had everybody in medium apart from Chilton, Ingram, and Rowbottom on the hard. So they're expected to fall back. However, the difference between hard and medium isn't so great. And Tom Ingram, it doesn't matter what tyre you put him on, he's going to be quicker than everybody else.
Yeah, it was interesting how it was at the end of the first race when Ingram was interviewed, and he said, "Well, Ash has got a guaranteed win for the next race." And I
It was
thought,
very Plato-esque in his
Yeah.
assessment there.
trying to put pressure on him again, I think.
Yeah. Okay, on to the start of race two, and the cloud in the sky is looking ominous. There's a huge dark cloud hanging over the Melbourne hairpin, Wheatcroft Straight, Craner, Curves, Hollywood, Redgate areas. I just listed a load of corner names there. The first and final sector.
Yeah.
But it's everyone's on dry tyres and it starts dry. And you're sort of thinking, well, the top three, they should fall back quite quickly. And off the start, immediately, Kamish has a really good launch because he's the first of the medium tyre runners. So he gets past Rowbottom straight away. Sorry, it's actually Sutton, isn't it? At that
Yes, I was just thinking this.
Sutton. And then Kamish is the next of the soft ones. So Sutton's already up to third. So he should be onto a winner here. He's challenging. Is it Ingram? Yeah, Ingram. He coming down on the first lap to the old hairpin. There's a bit of contact there, I think.
Oh yeah, and Chilton just disappeared at that point. He got a nice little run where everyone else was fighting.
And I would think that the team actually at this point was like, okay, you've had your first race win, but at this point, aren't you supposed to be helping Ingram a little bit? But he's helped by the safety car because we have Senna Proctor losing it on the grass on his own. He spears sideways into Aidan Moffat, and Sam Osborne goes, oh, hang on a minute, there's some cars and tracks, and also loses control.
Yes. Because I looked at it and thought I was taking two cars out, and it's like, no, Osborne just did it on his own, which is understandable. But I believe that Moffat rejoined as well, didn't he?
Moffat rejoined, and he had significant damage to the right-hand side of his car. Yeah, finished 11th, so it made, we'll touch on some chaos that happens later. But the car was very sorry, but obviously it must have been driving still okay, because the impact was in between the wheels, luckily. But Proctor's, I think Osborne, did he rejoin as well? He could have.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah. But Proctor's stuck in the gravel, so there's a safety car.
Yeah, it's just when you first saw the shot that all three cars were there, and it's just like, all three cars are out. And it only ended up being Proctor took himself out.
Yeah, now there is some extra context to this, and that is, at Old Hairpin, Jake Hill makes a mistake. He runs wide a bit. Proctor's got a clear and easy run. And I think, well, I'm not too happy with Jake here. I know it's split second, and you have to judge the distance that the car behind is having. Hill kind of slightly runs wide, but also Morgan puts him out there. I just got to say that. But he switches right back across when Proctor's already got an overlap. So they're both very fortunate they didn't end up in the barrier on the right-hand side, I think. It's very hard to see, but it is if you have to sort of freeze frame the TV angles. They show an onboard. It doesn't look too bad from Hill, but when you look from the outside, it's pretty shonky, I think. Hill loses momentum and 3 positions from it. So yes, ultimately, Proctor is to blame for this incident. He's dropping it on the grass. But I don't think he would have been in that position if Hill hadn't have aggressively chopped his nose off because he would have been past Hill and ahead. So, yeah, it's Proctor's accident. I wasn't too pleased with Hill's driving in this instance.
Yeah, I didn't particularly notice that. I did see that Proctor was on the outside of cars going into or towards McLean's. So yeah, that explains why he was out in that position. But yeah, once you're on the grass, there's nothing you can do about that.
No. Also, another thing we note from the Hill on board on the opening lap is the Shedden and Taylor Smith. They go through Coppice. I think Taylor Smith wipes out the bollard. And you think, oh, well, Shedden's nowhere to be seen. But I think he bump drafts Aaron Taylor Smith and then sent it down the inside of the chicane. Love that.
Yeah, of both of them as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because the angle of when they cut to it, I believe, it looked like all 3 Toyotas basically pushed Hill off. But that's not what happened. But it just looked like it briefly.
If you watch the onboard from Hill and Taylor Smith, as they come out of Coppice, there's definitely a bump in his back. It's got to be Shedden. And then he sends it. So, yeah, still got it in, if even if not the ultimate pace in the car, I believe. Anyway, safety car's out and it does start raining at this point, but only very, very briefly. That combined with cold tyres and a little bit of drizzle leads to maybe what happens next.
Yes. Yeah, that was a strange one because I still can't decide if Chilton was just trying to let Ingram through or if Chilton was slow or if Ingram dived on him or what. But yeah, he's trying to get past Chilton.
Yeah, I think Chilton's trying to, the Virtue cars are trying to let them, after Chilton's amazing start and Ingram getting a bit, not nearly roughed up, because Sutton was all over him and there's a bit of contact, all hairpin on the opening lap. I think there's been a call of, right, please sacrifice the race and let Ingram through. That has maybe also contributed towards this as well, right? So basically, Rowbottom smacks into the back of his teammate Sutton. Sutton spears into the back of Ingram. He's completely 90 degrees to the corner, but perfectly throws the throttle, brings it back round. His front of his car is damaged, and Chilton also has nowhere to go, so drops like a stone. Rowbottom also drops positions. That leads Camish through to second and Ingram into a clear lead at that point.
Mm.
But it could be the fact that, yes, cold tyres after a restart. Rowbottom was on the hard tyre compound, but then also was where everyone caught out by the Virtu car switching over as well.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I know Rowbottom in particular, he just locked up. It's forgivable what he did to his teammate. That's fine. I don't think Ash had a problem with it either. He probably did at that exact moment, but not after the race. It was quite interesting that whenever they interviewed Rowbottom about it, he kept mentioning, well, if Ash isn't happy with it, then there's not much we can do. But no one was prompting him to say that.
Yeah, then I think the red mist descends and Ash Sutton takes it out on poor Aaron Taylor Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, because
So
I wasn't sure what happened originally. I just saw both of them going through the gravel at the old hairpin.
I think Sutton goes for an optimistic dive down the inside. There is kind of a gap there. Taylor Smith turns in. They both run off, so more positions lost. Well, especially for Aaron Taylor Smith, but also Sutton from a championship point of view. I think he's way down behind Patterson in like 17th place when he comes back on.
Yeah.
I think also
he's
Rowbottom's
screwed.
impeded slightly again here because he's trying to. Slightly. I think another Toyota gets a run on past him because he's trying to avoid a crash. Trying to work out who that would have been. It's probably Cook. Yes, Cook. Cook benefits a lot from all that
He
shenanigans.
does, yeah.
So I also think maybe Chilton's car was hobbled in that. Mind you, he's on the hard tyre, so he can't really fight much anyway.
No.
And to be dumped down to like 12th, then he's always fighting with one hand behind his back.
Yeah. I can't believe how lucky Ingram is as well in all of this.
Yeah, I know.
Not that he's not deserved, but yeah, when things like this happen, he always seems to manage to, this season in particular, he manages to get through it without really impacting his championship.
I mean, that's the champion's luck,
Yeah.
or it's you feel like it's going to be his championship now, really more than ever.
Yeah.
Not just for pace, but for scenarios like this.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
feels like it's set now. So eventually, Camish and then Morgan do dive by Ingram because they've got a tyre compound advantage, but still Ingram's in third
Yeah.
on the hard. And really, without the schmozzle with Rowbottom, it's not a Kidderminster kerfuffle, but this should have been Ash's to win, really.
It should have been, or at least be ahead of Ingram.
Yeah. So it's a real championship ramifications here. It's a relatively subdued race from that point on, where we're looking at Sutton, who he's fighting back up on the lower end of the top 10 with damage on his car, but then Taylor Smith fights back. So
Yeah.
they didn't come together this time, but still fighting. And Rainford gets by him at one point, but then Rainford drops it.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. Right on the exit of Goddard's, the final corner. Just taps him right at the moment as he's putting on the throttle and then just spins into the pit entry. Unfortunate.
Yes, he's a great driver. There's still a learning curve. So
And dancer.
oh, really?
As they kept showing in the pre-thing. He's a ballroom dancer.
Oh, I didn't see that. Right. Not sure what I want to do with that information.
Yeah,
I think I'll move on. I mean, this is all. Well, this is to the benefit of some Toyotas. So you've got Shedden up in like 7th place and Cook up into 9th. Taylor Smith still hovering around 10th. Sutton on his back. We're looking actually as Sutton finally does make a move on Taylor Smith when it cuts to a shot of it being extremely wet. And, well, initially you just see it being wet up at McLean's as Sutton is going alongside the Toyota. And then it cuts to a shot of, oh, hang on a minute, everybody's gone off.
Yeah, that was bizarre. I mean, obviously you can comment on it differently, but watching it on the TV, it was like pretty much one camera shot dry, next camera shot soaking wet. And it was just, there seemed to be no in between. It's just, oh, dry, completely wet. Just in one corner.
Another scenario where Ingram's lucky because he goes off pretty much the furthest of everybody.
Yeah.
But he's still able to rejoin. He loses positions, but I think he was the closest to, along with Hill, they could nearly hit the wall. I think it's Dan Lloyd comes in at a higher pace, but he's also sideways and the gravel slows him down a bit. But also Camish goes off, the race leader. DeLeon goes off. They're all in the gravel with Hill and Ingram. Morgan is off. He tries to come back on a strange diagonal route. Smiley's wide. But in this, what's quite confusing is Will Buxton's pitted earlier in the race, and he's actually
Yes.
well, as a spectator, he was just ahead of the leaders for most of the race.
I should point out as well that that's Max Buxton, not Will.
Will Buxton, yes, the IndyCar commentator, substituting this week. They're actually Camish is closing in on Buxton.
Yep.
I'll just say the surname from now on. I can't remember at this point. Has he lapped him at this point? I think he might have done. But anyway, Buxton Jr. doesn't go off and actually regains positions, and that's what looks like it's Shedden initially.
Yes.
But it's actually the lapped Toyota. Shedden also he runs wide, but he doesn't go off. And he leaps past Ingram, De Leon. Maybe one of the restart cars were ahead of him, not sure. But he's up to third place and fighting with Morgan.
It was quite interesting at that point because, yeah, at first you're just like, oh, Shedden's in second. And it takes a little while to sort of realise that there's a lapped car in there. And you're thinking, oh, is that Cook? Is that Taylor Smith? No, it's Max.
Max Buxton, yes, get it right, Tom. Shedden makes a lovely move in damp conditions at Melbourne, down the inside, bit of argy-bargy, job done. But then, we haven't mentioned at this point, but they immediately called the safety car.
Yeah.
Now, in hindsight, I think that's a mistake, but they can only make that decision when half the field's gone off, and it's suddenly really it's really heavy rain as opposed to just a light shower. And so I understand it. In hindsight, yeah, I think it would have been amazing for them to play on.
Yeah, I really wish that they had carried on that race, but as I say, when you've suddenly seen half the field fly off the track, the immediate thing there is, oh God, we need to red flag this, we need to safety car it or something like that. But
yeah, but no one actually crashed. That's the thing.
But the way it panned out was just that it was going to be a lap or two of tiptoeing round.
Like Halstead put wets on. What could have happened there?
Well, you could get a penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Oh dear.
He got a 30-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
But Hamilton also pitted, and remember Hamilton's best ever result was at a wet Donington race where there was changeable conditions.
Yeah.
And it was in a Cupra. So just what could have been. I think they were a bit hasty there. Safety's paramount.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bash them too hard. But yes, I was stood at the inside McLean's fortuitously. And it was the most bizarre thing because it didn't even seem that cloudy. And I felt a plane went over my head and there was no cars driving around. They must have been at the back end of the circuit in comparison to where I was stood. And it was a bit of moisture dropped. And I thought, oh, is that famous avgas? You know, the famous story of Donington, the planes fly over and, you know, I was like, has it just emptied its toilet over the top of my head? What's this? And then it was just like 2 drops, nothing. And then all of a sudden, bam, I had my camera out. I didn't have my hood on. I had the camera in the wrong settings. I was trying to do some pan shots with a long shutter speed. I thought, this is going to be interesting. But you could see there was like a line. There was like a delineation between on the run up to McLean's where it was still dry. And it just started raining where I was stood. And I was stood to my right, so close to the apex, was a family in a tent. And they had the front of the tent open. They were mostly sat inside it anyway, irrespective of the rain. So they're looking at the cars going past. It's Dan Camish goes by. And they didn't look to the right because from their angle, they're sort of inside the tent. They can see them coming up. Yeah. And I just have to go, they're all off. So they ran out of the tent and they're all like, whoa. Because you turn around and there's Camish in there, there's Hill in there, there's everybody in the gravel.
Yeah, because it's pretty much the first 10 or so cars
all
end up in the gravel at some description.
When Camish arrived, it would been raining for maybe 30 seconds or so. And he actually makes the corner for all intents and purposes, even though it's clearly wet.
Yeah.
But then it's like in the mid corner, there's nothing he can do about it, and he's off. He actually does slow down and turns in, and you think, oh, he's actually going to be all right. And then halfway through the corner, it just washes out wide. I think we're very lucky that people didn't have accidents there. But then obviously the people further back, once they've seen a few cars going off, they slow down. But more than that, after those first cars had gone off, it started raining everywhere. So even on the run up to the hill was wet. So everyone else would have slowed down. It was all of a sudden it started in that one corner, but then very rapidly was wet everywhere, quite consistently.
Yeah, I've never seen rain like that to be that instant.
Yeah, it was very localized, very quick, very Nürburgring Nordschleife style.
Yeah, Spa.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not the middle of England.
Yeah. I was curious where it was actually based on it, and I looked it up the other day.
Sorry, and where was it? Sorry,
Leicestershire, apparently.
is it Leicestershire?
Mm.
Interesting. I just know that it's 90 minutes away.
Yeah.
Um, so that was bizarre. So anyway, safety car. So some cars did benefit, but Morgan and Shedden they redressed the scenario. So Morgan takes second, Shedden third though. So great drive to
Yeah.
be. He was in like sixth or seventh, I think we said, but then capitalized on the terrible conditions there. I think Cook didn't go off either, but he was a bit further back.
Yeah, but he finished sixth.
Yeah,
That's a brilliant result, I thought.
that's excellent. Now he actually did finish sixth on the road. He finished seventh on the road.
Yes.
Smiley in fourth was disqualified, which I didn't pick up until today.
Mhm.
Another ride height scenario.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah, another car.
this is key because with Doble was leading independence points until his car was burnt to a crisp. So Smiley, I think, took 3 independent wins in Knockhill,
Yep.
took the lead of that point standing. He
Mhm.
then won in the first round of here because Doble's thrown out of qualifying. But then this means, I think, Dan Lloyd takes the independent win. Doble is in second by my quick calculations there, and Smiley gets no points.
Exactly. And that switches it all around, I think.
It does, and well, we'll jump ahead, but Doble, I don't think he got an independent win in the third race either, but he still finished ahead of Smiley. So,
Yeah, that's looking interesting.
yeah, and they clashed apparently in the third race. So, yeah, I
Ooh.
mean, because the main title I think is down to 2 drivers, and honestly, I think Ingram now has done enough to stave off, especially with the next round being Silverstone and straight line speed has been key. I think ITV has switched since Knockhill more focus on the Independence Championship.
Yeah. And Paul O'Neill literally at the last bit of the broadcast on ITV just went, it's Ingram's championship.
Oh, did
He
he?
just
Yeah.
flat out.
Yeah, well, it is.
Like,
The producer won't be happy with that.
No, that's what I thought. But yeah, I mean, I never believe that it's done until it's done, but it's definitely in his favour by a long way.
Yeah. So we'll just finish off race 2 with, well, we've already talked about him in this race.
Yeah,
Bucks watch.
he finished second. Oh, no, sorry, he was lapped. He finished 19th.
Yes.
So
He was second car
on
across
the
line.
road behind the safety car.
Very true. Some exposure for the sponsors.
Yeah,
Yeah, he had a lonely race. I don't know what quite happened at the start.
so he did have to pit early on.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that was a mechanical issue or a tyre or what, because it was definitely before the rain came.
He still was driving around at a good pace. So
Mhm.
Right, so on to race 3. So it's Sutton on pole position, even though Smiley was drawn out of the hat initially because Smiley was disqualified. So it's a lucky break to keep the championship alive. Live. No conspiracy theories here. And Sutton's on pole position, but he's on the harder rubber. And so I was looking at this going, well, Ingram's was he 4th or 5th on the grid on on the mediums, the softer.
Yeah.
But I was also very hopeful for a Josh Cook renaissance, a reverse grid win on his return, but didn't quite work out that way.
No, sadly not. But the fact that he's even up there on the grid is very good, considering the weekend he'd had up to this point.
Yeah, this is very true. So Sutton holds a lead on the unfavourable tyre. Ingram does work his way past Taylor Smith. Cook's undoing a bit, I think, he's trying to defend from Ingram too hard. I mean, in his defence, speaking of defending, they're on the same compounded tyre. And so Cook would want to fight against Ingram. It's just different gravy in terms of machinery, I think, here.
Yeah, it's good to see. And I think if Josh Cook had been in that car all year, we'd have seen a much more balanced defence, but he's still getting used to it. I know it's the car he drove last year, but it's a completely different in terms of setup and everything else because the hybrid's been removed for this year, so the weight distribution is completely different. But yeah, it's good to see that he's trying and getting his elbows out and not just being like, oh, you're in the championship after you.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, it does lead to the fact that this lets Aaron Taylor Smith, his teammate, through, even though Taylor Smith's on the slower of the compound tyres, then Cook doesn't really hold a candle to him. I think later on in the race, he does play a team game. I think he lets Shedden through as well. He's clearly not there to, if when the results start going away, he's then not fighting too hard with his teammates. But
Yeah.
you have to bear in mind as well, he's had a couple of rounds off and no pre-round test as well. So
Mm.
still thought it was admirable. He's also under investigation for a false start, isn't he?
Oh yes, he is. Nothing comes of it, rightly so, I believe, because looking at the replay, weirdly, I don't know if you saw the replays, but they showed a replay first of all, which you
Yes.
can clearly see he moved ever so slightly just before the lights went out, and then they did a slow motion replay where it was almost impossible to see any movement.
Yeah, you have to watch it really carefully. Just watch it 4 times,
Yeah,
and it's the slow motion. The movement is almost imperceptible,
it
but
is.
it does happen. So you
Yeah,
just slowly move, but then stop. And I think the thing that saves him is that he
yeah,
doesn't edge over the front of the box on the grid.
yeah. And I like to see that because I think you
Bit of
haven't.
discretion.
It's not a jump start because he hasn't crossed his grid box. I know F1 the rules are different to that, but in touring cars I like to see that.
Yep.
Because the cars are a bit finicky anyway. When you put them into the gear and everything else, they can always creep ever so slightly.
I was also thinking, haven't we had some false starts investigated post race or between rounds? And
Oh
you
God,
don't
yeah.
want to see that. So this just sort
Yep.
of quietly vanished.
Yes, it was good to see that.
So 3 laps in, Ingram's on Sutton, but Sutton tries to defend it, and I'm thinking, well, you're not going to hold on for 11 laps, surely. But
Yeah,
also thinking, I hope he kind of does because that'll be an amazing race.
yeah, and it starts off with you thinking, oh, he could do,
Yeah.
but he puts some manners on Ingram, shall we say, on the exit of the Melbourne hairpin and eases him onto the grass slightly. As I say, you and me would find that more acceptable in the past years, but it's borderline these days.
I'm totally fine with that move. I
Mm.
endorse it. I want to see more of it, but it's not allowed.
Yeah.
I
But,
think if that was a race decided move, they would have been reversed because we actually saw that. Was it Hill
yeah.
do something far less bad to Ingram at Donington 2 years ago, and
Hmm.
I think they switched the positions afterwards
Yeah.
in the stewards' room. So yeah, but you still want to see the fight, the gumption
Yeah.
to have a go. Ingram's trying to go around
Ingram,
the outside. You can't do that. Sorry.
no. And Ingram didn't have a problem with it post race, but then he probably wouldn't because, as
No,
we
because he
come to in
won.
a minute, he got ahead of him. So,
Yeah, he did to get a cut back at one point. To me, Ingram is 4 wheels off the track through
yeah.
the Fogarty S's, big time. We should have mentioned as well in race one, I wasn't too keen with, I think, Sutton holding off Proctor on the first lap by cutting over the chicane. Hard to
Oh,
tell, we don't have
yes.
all the angles.
Hmm.
But this is not on the first lap, so you could argue, it's a bit busy and, the full pack's there, because Formula One has some leniency there on track limit rules on the opening lap. But he's getting the cut back, he's too keen, he's 4 wheels off the track. He would have got him anyway, so we can't, play on. Just, I just not too
Yeah.
sure about that.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Even then, when he's get past him, Sutton gives him a little rub, tries to go around the outside of the final corner, but
Hmm.
then still gets a good enough cutback to then use the boost across the start finish line into Redgate. And I thought at this point, if we had a drone with an overhead shot, had some hindsight, I think he does clear Ingram, and I think he would have been okay to swipe across and defend to the inside, but it's marginal. He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So he just tries to squeeze him towards the apex to defend the turn one. But at that moment, then the race is won by Ingram.
Yeah. He fights as hard as he can for the next series of corners, doesn't he? Through the craners and everything else. But yeah, once he's ahead, that's the end of it.
Yep. So good night and goodbye. We should also mention Tom Chilton fights back from far down the grid. The pace he has and that car is
Mm.
phenomenal. Um, it's almost looks too easy, let's say. But anyway, in the end, he's thwarted by Jake Hill, I think, and Taylor Smith. We do have a safety car at one point because Nick Halstead expires.
Well, his car does. It does sound a bit wrong the way you put that, but yeah, we see him off the track, and the car smoking heavily. I was a bit worried that it was going to catch fire as well because that's the last thing that team needs. But yeah, I'm not sure if it was mechanical damage or if the car was just broken because we did see him going off track at the chicane um, previous to that, so it might have been a bit of damage from that caused it.
Yeah, I suppose we'll never know. I mean, he does enter
Mm.
the gravel trap. He spears off at a weird old angle.
Yeah,
It goes right on the short loop, as opposed to left.
yeah,
But so maybe that has like gravel in the intakes, and the engine eats it. But the engine does expire. There's oil on the track
hmm
running down the hill, and I was also worried that he smashed into the barrier. I think the safety and the marshals and the doctor were worried that he'd thumped the barrier, but he hadn't. I think he just gave it a very soft
yeah.
glance.
It
There's
was.
no damage to the left side
Mhm.
of the car, thankfully. During the safety car, Adam Morgan retires. Back right issue, not sure what that was going on. Also, just before the safety car, Cook puts his hazard lights on and lets Hill through, which is a bit weird. And in my opinion, at the safety car restart, does let Shedden through. But then, as they get down to the Melbourne hairpin, he does send a nice dive to De Leon. So all is not lost there. I think Sutton is also closing close here, and you thought, think, oh, he's definitely shaping up for a move, but just doesn't have the tyres.
No. Yeah, he's within touch, isn't he, for all of this? But yeah, I was surprised that he didn't just do an immediate dive after the safety
Same,
car.
same.
It wasn't really on, but I'm surprised he didn't at least try it and try and put him off.
Would have been nice. There's been several times this year where it is down to Sutton to make an aggressive move
Mm,
on Ingram. We saw it at Snetterton and Knockhill, like strong defenses and attacks from Sutton against Ingram. It's rarely
yeah,
Ingram having to stretch himself and the car to make a
yeah,
50-50 move. That's just how the season's played out. Then the main focus is Taylor Smith holding on valiantly for fourth places with Hill and Chilton. I think Chilton actually gets through first, but then gets held up, and Hill gets through on the final lap. Taylor Smith's just driving around the inside painted white line, which is
yeah.
wonderful. We should also say Rowbottom has made it up to third. He's had a really good drive here, so second podium of the day.
Mm.
And Shedden has another side result actually with a seventh.
Yeah, I think the Toyotas had a good set of races. They just didn't have very good qualifying.
There's a shot, I think it's in this race, looking back from Taylor Smith to Hill, going up the hill, under Starkey's Bridge and into Swans Curve, and the Toyota pulls away from the BMW.
Hmm.
That's the first time this year. So that's the Toka power engine, power unit by M Sports up in Cumbria. And both of those Toyotas equipped with that engine were the best finishing across the weekend, I believe. Certainly in race 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say in terms of results because Cook is new to the car and Buxton is just not up to the pace of the other drivers at the moment.
No, and Cook drops to 11th by the line, which is a bit of a shame.
hmm But I hope they, I don't know if they're planning to do this for the whole season now or if it's just a one-off, but I hope they do it at Silverstone because that, as you say, is all about power. So we should see a clear difference if that's the
Yeah,
case.
I mean, they'll have the data now.
hmm
There's obviously who knows what the contracts are with Neil Brown, and there's been a sunk cost in that engine.
Yeah,
So this is a significant change if they go for it. I, Surface level from the outside looking in, it does seem like a positive move, though.
hmm
So anyway, yeah, Ingram wins. Sutton's in second. They're all best mates in the interview, which I don't want to see. I want a bit of needle, thanks.
yeah. I agree with that as well. But at the same time, I quite enjoy the fact that they're clearly enjoying the racing with each other.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally.
But yeah, a little bit of not literal fisticuffs, but Neil and Plato, that needle between
Yeah,
drivers really does add a bit of spice.
it's all stamped out in modern day BTCC. They're not allowed to be controversial on social media. Or the damn camera she's trying. Then
Yeah,
they rarely cover some controversies on the TV. I mean, ITV does try, I believe that, um, but I think it's been forgotten that the Plato Neil rivalry carried the championship when it had weaker grids,
hmm
and
yeah,
that should prove that controversy and people crashing into each other and falling out over it is actually a positive, provided it's not all 20 odd cars.
it is.
I'm just ashamed that for me that Sutton and Ingram are just chummy.
Yeah, it's also the mindset of the newer drivers as well, isn't it? That they're more about their own performance, whereas I think in previous years you could gain a lot from psyching your opponents out more.
Maybe. Well, anyway, that wraps up Donington. It was an interesting weekend.
Yes, I should point out as well that Max, not Will, Buxton managed an 18th place for this race.
So it beat out Hamilton in this instance.
He did, yes.
Oh, yeah, we should also mention that for the Independence Championship, Smiley and Double clashed. We didn't see it on camera, but Smiley had a puncher. Double had body rubbing behind him, and Smiley's received a verbal warning. So I feel like it's not the footage, but it's a dive at the Melbourne hairpin.
It
Anyway,
seems to be, yeah.
that means that Double is back at the head of the Independents, even though, and Smiley's actually dropped to third, even though I think this should have been a weekend where Smiley cemented it, but it's that ride height exclusion in race 2 that's really messed him around, really, and then a bit of desperation. But he shouldn't have been in that position if the ride height hadn't have failed.
Yeah, but it's exciting in the fact that they're now separated by 3 points.
Three drivers. Yeah.
And sadly for Doble and PMR, I can't see them winning that just because of the car not being up to the standard, I don't think, to get them there. But you never know.
I agree, but imagine the party.
Yes. I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah, we'd love to see it happen. And nothing against Smiley or Lloyd. I'd like to see them win as well. But now, all about Doble.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a half-followed driver anymore, but he is. He always will be.
Yeah, exactly that. And yeah, Lloyd, anonymous weekend, but he's back in contention for the independent title, and that's far more interesting and closer now than the driver's title, which we'll touch upon now. Obviously, it's Ingram. He's got a solid lead as I try and do some quick maths.
32?
32 points, thank you, Nick. That's unassailable in touring cars, in my opinion. I mean, technically, mathematically, it's not, but with Silverstone coming up, maybe if it rains at Silverstone, that changes things.
It's down to instance now. Retirements, punches, instance crashes, whatever. In terms of outright pace, it's Ingram's. But you never know what could happen.
Yeah. Camish and Rowbottom, they're going to be in third or fourth, whatever happens. Just depends on which order they're in. Camish currently leads that. He did have a week of race 3, I must say. Was he on the hard tyre?
In race 3,
he was, yes.
Yes, he was.
But he was anonymous in that one and finished down in 12th. So obviously we know they're out of it, but they've got a inter-Nissan battle. I think it's 24 points between them. Still not that close, but you never know. And then Jake Hill's trying to hold off Tom Chilton in 5th and Chilton in 6th. Everything else seems relatively set, and we don't really care.
No, exactly at that point.
Constructors, 1 point in it, which is very interesting, because you would think with Sutton, Camish, and Rowbottom being in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in the Drivers' Championship, they would be miles ahead, but it doesn't quite work like that. And actually, the Hyundai's right up in there, so that's all to play for.
Isn't it allocated drivers still as well, though? Only 2 drivers score points.
I think it must be. Yeah, because in the Teams Championship, Virtu leads but only by 2 points from Napa. So that's more interesting to follow than the Drivers' Championship, I think, at this point, along with the Constructors. So plenty to play for, to be excited about, and to watch. Just don't expect Sutton to do it. That's my opinion. Even though I do hope it goes into the final round with it still possible.
But also, crucially, who's top of the Wingfoot now?
Good question.
Because that is the most exciting part.
Oh, it's Tom Ingram.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Comfortably. Bearing in mind, he's led the championship for a lot.
Yeah, and once again, I say
shouldn't be possible
because I don't want Ingram to win, but I like to see the Wingfoot go to someone random, shall we say.
It shouldn't be to the driver that's leading the championship.
No. I preferred the Wingfoot when it was it how many overtakes you'd made?
Oh, I've forgotten that. Yes, it was.
I know it was a bit irrelevant because if you was a fast car at the back, you're going to make more places. But qualifying position is basically just, the fastest car.
Yep. Tom Chilton was very proud after qualifying. He said, "Oh, I'm going to keep this bottle of water because it says Poland." And like,
yes.
Actually, you get a trophy now.
Yeah, well, it's been a while, bless him.
Yeah, Jack Sears, De Leon eking out over Rainford there, especially with Rainford spinning race 2.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those two, isn't it?
Yeah, independent teams restarts got it in the bag, in my opinion. All right, anything else from Donington?
No, I think that pretty much covers it now. I'm excited to see what happens at Silverstone.
Yeah, still looking forward to it very much, even if it sounds like I've been a bit down in the dumps. That's not the case. So, 2 rounds left, Silverstone and Brands Hatch GP. Silverstone is between the 20th and 21st September, and Brands Hatch is at the start of October. The final races will be on the 5th.
Hmm.
Let's briefly talk about Formula Uno. It was the Dutch Grand
Yes.
Prix around Zandvoort, and stuff happened. There was controversy, definitely talking points. But as you mentioned, Nick, I don't think it was a classic.
No. Um, it was certainly more entertaining than a lot of the races we've had. There was a bit of intrigue going on, but it's not a track that I enjoy in terms of overtaking. But then most of them aren't lately. Um,
No.
it all seems to be the passes into turn one, and that's really it. But it's a lovely track to watch cars go around on.
Yes, I was just going to interject there and say it's one of my favorite tracks to watch a Formula One car drive around.
Yes.
The banking, especially, and then also even in the middle sector where they're close to grass and gravel.
Yeah.
It's an amazing circuit. I'm just
Oh,
not
it
sure
is.
it's
Yeah.
suitable for Formula One racing, but I do enjoy watching just the cars driving around, even if nothing much happens. So this was all about the fact that Norris and Piastri, the title fight was close. Looked like Norris had the upper hand in practice, but Piastri nipped it by less than a tenth. In fact,
Yeah. It's
less than
ridiculous.
100th. Anyway, extremely close. So a gnat's whisker could have gone either way. Verstappen did it for the home fans in a distant third, but an amazing performance in qualifying from Hadjar,
Yes, very much so.
up in
Um,
fourth.
he's done so well this year. But I just so hope he doesn't get the Red Bull drive.
Yes, this is the big
Not
concern, isn't it?
necessarily for next year, I should say. That's a different
No, no,
matter.
no.
Hope they don't promote him this season.
Yeah, well, Sonoda 12th, not good. In fact, both Racing Bulls were good at this circuit because Lawson was in 8th.
Mm,
Sainz the better of the Williams in 9th. Alonso squeaking into the top 10. A damp squib over qualifying for Ferrari, Leclerc, and Hamilton 6th and 7th. At least Hamilton was close to Leclerc's time. Um, it's just 500ths between them. So on the
yeah.
same pace, which is positive. Russell squeezing in there with 5th, although I think you said the Mercedes shouldn't be that competitive around here. Antonelli, not overly impressed by them in some respects this year, P11 on the grid. Bortoleto out qualifying Hulkenberg, although he was very, very close for them to get through Q1. I think they were basically level,
Mm.
but then Bortoleto went on to be quicker again. And Lance Stroll bringing up the rear of the grid.
Yeah. Oh, yes, he crashed, didn't he?
He did.
I was trying to remember why he was at the
The
back.
second time that weekend, I think he had an accident in practice as well.
Hmm.
And the two Haas, 18th and 19th. So wasn't looking good at this point for them.
No.
Anyway, as we get to the race, well, Max had an amazing start, but so he gets past Lando, another position lost at the start of a race for Mr. Norris. But I really liked how Piastri sort of eased him wide.
Yeah. And I also like the way that Max really fought for that second place as well. Um, completely sideways into the third corner. It was, it was great to see. Because at first I thought they'd had some contact, but no. It was just that he got onto the dirty bit of the track.
Yeah, so as the race goes on, it was kind of like Donington in some respects.
Mm,
Rain affected, but actually to nowhere near the extent. But Donington through the day between the British Touring Car races, it kept spitting a little bit and it was cloudy. Here, there was all this talk about rain. You're sitting there thinking, "Oh, is it actually gonna rain?" But it kind of wasn't. There's a
yeah.
bit of a train behind Hadjar because you've got the Russell and two Ferraris, and everyone's going to try and undercut Hadjar. That's the plan.
Hmm.
Leclerc gets pit preference. Hamilton's clear then pushing a bit too hard. The rain's coming down a bit. He gets a snap on the banked corner, runs into the advertising hoardings. But then I also think the car bottoms out on an extra little bit of like a ridge because you can see the plank sort of coming out the back of the car, and then that just puts him in the wall. And uncharacteristic, but it's when it's not your year, it's not your year, and this is not a year for Lewis Hamilton. Rips a wheel
Yeah.
off and he's retired.
Yeah, it was just an unfortunate one because it wasn't a big mistake. It was just a mistake in a part of the track where there's no room to recover it.
Yeah, but still a mistake on
Oh,
his
yes.
own, under pressure. So that's far from ideal.
Yeah, and speaking of mistakes, Lando tried to take his front jack man with him at the pit stop.
Yeah, asked if he's okay, but he was okay. Oh, so we should say Hamilton's incident brought out the safety car.
Oh, sorry,
And
yes.
people were very annoyed by that. Alonso's team radio is a classic. He's literally screaming, "Why us? It's
Yeah.
never us!" Ah,
Mm,
because they've pitted beforehand, and then other people get a quicker pit stop. But in that process is when Norris nearly takes out part of
yeah.
the team.
And to be fair, he was given the go signal, so it wasn't Norris's fault.
No, exactly. Yeah. At the restart, yeah, Russell's trying to get past Hadjar, doesn't quite do it. There's contact between. Oh, this is when there's contact between Lawson and
Yes.
Sainz.
hmm
Insert debate here. Oh, not
Um,
debate, rant.
yeah, basically. Yeah, because Sainz is trying to go around the outside of Lawson at turn one. He's not able to do it, but what he's wanting to do is to get a run so as he can challenge into the next couple of corners. Lawson moves over the front of him, and they come together. And I think Sainz loses some of his front wing.
They both get punches.
Yes, they both get punches. And Sainz receives a 10-second penalty for this.
This is the most bizarre penalty I've seen in motor racing. Oh, second most bizarre penalty I've seen in motor racing. Greg Murphy in V8 Supercars once got a penalty when Lowndes in front of him, lost it, was going off the track on his own. So Murphy brakes, hits the back of him, but he's already an accident happening.
Yeah,
He got a penalty for it. I was like, that's crazy. This is tantamount to that because Lawson's pushing him wide. Now you can argue whether was he right to do that or wrong. I think Sainz is not alongside enough. Could Sainz have backed out? Yes. Could the Lawson not pushed him out wide and still carried on? Yes. So maybe there's an argument of who's caused the punches.
yeah.
They've both impeded themselves, basically.
hmm
And I do not understand, under any circumstance, why Carlos Sainz gets a penalty for this.
Yeah, same.
It's a joke. It is a joke. In the word of Alonso, it's a joke.
Yes, it's a racing incident for me. But neither person should be penalised for it. They were penalised because of the punches, but yeah,
Yeah, but that's all you need. They've got
exactly.
punches. Carry on. Are they saying now that no one can overtake around the outside?
Exactly. I mean, for me, if anyone was more to blame, it's Lawson moving over the front. But he's
Me
ahead.
too.
He can do what he wants. So, and I say if I had to pick someone, but I don't think you should. They both had their own penalties. They shouldn't have had official ones.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, in the end, actually, because of more safety cars, they actually maybe could have got some points in the end. Kind of a strange race.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move away from that daftness onto something a bit more aggressive, which is Charles Leclerc's overtake when the race resumes after, I think it's a virtual safety car for debris. I think Russell just wasn't hard enough.
Yeah.
It could have covered it off a little bit by taking a normal racing line into that chicane, but Leclerc goes around the outside. He's four wheels in the gravel, in my opinion, and slaps into the side of the Merc, but also at the same time, play on. Good racing.
Yeah. I do know what you mean. Um, it's yeah, it is tricky. Um, I think it was a nice move, but it was
It's borderline.
because they were saying when they on the commentary about how he was four wheels off the track.
Yeah, I think he is, yeah.
So I don't know. I like to see that move, but yeah, I don't think it was a
Same.
fair one.
No,
But I
but
also don't feel he should have been penalised, apart from maybe saying give the place back.
yeah, no, a quick decision to give the place back, I would have been okay
Mhm.
with. Unfortunately, this is the second time that the penalty stewarding system fell down in this race completely because they said it will be investigated after the race.
Yes, and then
What?
nothing came of it.
Well, no, because then he crashed out. But we'll
Yeah.
cut that now. So Antonelli pits. Everyone thinks, oh, that's it to the end. But then Antonelli puts on a set of softs, and all of a sudden people go, oh, hang on a minute. So there's a big debate where Ferrari say to Charles, do you want to stay out or Antonelli's undercut? And Charles is like, no, the tyres feel fine. I'm going to keep going to the end.
Yeah,
Ferrari next lap say, box, 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 we're covering Antonelli. So he comes out the pit lane. It's a bit of a lazy move from Antonelli because the bank corner is a bit weird, though. You don't see it in any other track. Antonelli makes contact with the left rear of Charles. He gets a puncher, spins off, loses the front wing, hits the wall, retires.
yeah.
Thoughts?
I feel sorry for Leclerc, obviously, But I also feel sorry for Antonelli because
It's a tiniest of touches.
the move was on. He just misjudged it ever so slightly. I mean, it's clearly his fault. There's no one else to blame, but it was so close to being a nice move, and I applaud him for trying it. But yeah, it just wasn't quite enough. But yeah, it's the last thing he needed at the moment.
No, Jacques Villeneuve came out afterwards. Oh, we shouldn't even mention him by name. Sorry. We'll move on from that. But I don't think Antonelli's had a stellar year. I know he's young and he's rookie, so he's definitely deserving a second season. But Russell's smashed it. And if
Oh
you
yeah,
think back to the hype, I know that he's young and for debut season, but I think there have been better debutants this year.
yes. The one thing I dislike about, especially the aforementioned Canadian, uh,
Bold, let's put that in there. The bold Canadian.
yes, as mentioned, how well Lewis's first season he was straight on the pace. He was challenging for a title, but he also had, I think they said something like 22,000 miles of testing under his belt before.
Yes, you have no testing in modern Formula One really, in
Yeah,
comparison.
so
Sorry, there is a little bit, but
I have sympathy for Antonelli.
same, same to same. He's
He
got youth
definitely
on his
hasn't been
side, but
good
that's
enough.
the only
But
excuse now.
next season, because Antonelli and Russell have been confirmed as being at Mercedes next year, so we'll have to see.
Although hasn't Russell's final contract not like technically been
Well,
announced?
actually, no, this is the weird thing because I believe Toto Wolff was confirmed they will both be there, but yeah,
Yes,
there had been
but the
no
actual
confirmation of
announcement,
contracts.
yeah,
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 so
because
it's a
it's
strange
all to
one.
do with the length of contract, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
still going back to Max Verstappen. If they, I think, if Toto really wants Max in there for 27,
yeah,
he has to have all these exit clauses in his contract. I think.
yeah. But I mean, it's not going to be anyone else. There's no one else who's ready to step into that
No,
car.
nope, nope, nope. Speaking of Mercedes engines,
Mm,
this is where the championship changed. I think now Piastri absolutely smashed Norris in this race. It's very close to qualifying, but in the race, I think the young Aussie had him. And it's an amazing turnaround of form from the end of last year where Norris looked like the preeminent McLaren driver.
yeah,
For Piastri to be consistently challenging and often quicker and winning races is amazing. So he was going to win another one here, but then I think, but the rather bizarrely and rare in this day and age, the engine expires by looks things in the back of Norris's
yeah.
car and he has to retire.
Which must be a worry for Piastri's side of the garage as well, because presumably they're on similar lengths of engine wear.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was
maybe.
so unfortunate.
Alex Jakes in the commentary did say, "Oh, they usually take a fresh engine from Monza anyway, so maybe it's not really a concern for Piastri if they're going to switch it out for Monza
Not yet, but I'm thinking later on in the
later in the
season,
year, though. Yeah,
in other
maybe.
races.
Yeah,
Um, but yes, it, I don't like to see it because you never like to see these things decided on mechanical.
no,
He was clearly going to be second, but yeah, it's such a shame.
yeah. So huge championship ramifications.
Yes,
The points gap now. Well, we've got Piastri on 309 and Lando Norris on 275. So he's got a race winning in his pocket, hasn't he? At least.
yeah, it's 34 points, isn't it?
Yeah, not a sprint weekend, maybe, but
Yeah. Um,
he's got a
yeah.
cushion
Oh yeah, definitely.
in the
He's
box seat.
ahead now, and I have to say I like the pairing of Piastri and Norris as a rivalry as well because they are very different in how they achieve what they do, but they're also so close.
Yeah.
And I think Norris is the faster driver, marginally by a tiny amount, but Piastri just seems to have more. I was going to say maturity, not maturity, but he's just more calm. He's more methodical in his approach, and just seems to get more out of it that way.
Very much so. Yeah, they're a great pairing. Because it's not that close now, I was kind of hoping it would come to fisticuffs. But if
Yeah.
Norris does a crazy move, Piastri can just let him by and finish second and keep doing that.
Oh, yeah. And there's plenty of, because yes, Norris lost potentially 18 points, but he also had that incident in Canada. So he has no one to blame but
Oh
himself for
yeah,
being
you
behind.
can't necessarily say that. Okay, this has lost him the championship because there's other
No.
incidents as well the whole year, and also sometimes just not being as quick as Piastri and winning the race. That's
Hmm.
also a big thing. He's also had some way come his way, like Silverstone, where Piastri got the penalty at the safety car restart as well.
Yeah. But there's still
So,
plenty of
but
races to go. See what happens.
at this point in the year, it's a defining moment still
Hmm.
because that changes Piastri's mindset. Surely, of yeah, like I said already, if Norris goes for a dive, he can let him. He can let him. We should also mention here then Isaac Hadjar podium, amazing drive. Obviously
Yeah.
fortuitous with Leclerc, Hamilton, and Russell tripping over themselves because we forgot to mention that and Antonelli Russell picked up damage from his side incident with
Oh,
Leclerc,
yes.
but Hadjar was qualified in that position, drove in that position, didn't make a single mistake, and held him off. So well deserved.
Mm.
And uh, yeah, now Helmut Marko's got to say something stupid. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's a given.
I mean, he
So,
said this week that Sonoda's got another handful of races left. And so,
yeah,
if that's true, and they say, right, goodbye, Sonoda, then it does mean an early promotion for Hadjar, which is a bit of a shame.
which I think is the worst possible idea. Um,
Yes,
I'd say
100%.
next season, that's another matter. Different car, different approach.
I
It's
think they
quite
have to put him
possible.
in next year as well, right? At this point.
Unless they stick with Sonoda, but I can't
Not
see
going to
that
happen.
happening.
No,
For his own point of view, I really hope to see Yuki there next year, but it's so not going to happen.
no chance. I mean, he scraped 2 points here, ninth place, but there
Hmm.
was also weird strategies going on there. I don't think he had the pace. So that's that. We should say that Stroll and Alonso finished seventh and eighth, so two double points for Aston Martin. So Alonso's
Mm.
early race rant about him being forgotten about kind of came to naught. Behrman, amazing drive. He did some overtakes and crazy strategy to finish sixth. Albon, fifth,
Yeah,
when Sainz was the quicker driver up to that point in the weekend.
yeah, but the Williams looks good. Bearing in mind it has had barely any development at all. This I don't think it's had any development this season. They've just kept the same car from start to finish.
Yeah, and also the chassis was based on last year's car as well.
Yeah,
It wasn't an all new thing. One of the things that people are ruminating about Ferraris, they went for a whole new philosophy for this year when there's a rule
yes,
change, and the philosophy hasn't worked. And so here we are now. Different type of suspension,
mm,
for example.
yeah,
Ocon rounded up the points in 10th, and obviously Verstappen, anonymous, but on the podium for the Dutch fans. So Piastri wins it and fastest lap,
yeah.
and is odds on favourite.
Oh, completely. One thing I've literally just found out because I was curious. Pedro Lamy was the driver steward.
Oh dear, Pedro.
Yeah, he didn't make the decision on his own. There's three other stewards,
Of
but
course, of course.
he's the
Contributing
driver
factor.
steward.
But no, please, don't, no social hate. Hashtag no social hate.
Mm,
But oh, disappointing that. Let's hope that's he's not involved in the future.
yeah,
Even though other people are involved, he's got a factor there. And just to finish this podcast off, let's touch on the news. I'm so excited for the Cadillac driver lineup.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I just it's so boring. At least put one interesting driver in there.
It is. I was hoping that I wanted one of them to get the drive alongside someone else, rather a rookie or a younger driver. But I can see why they've done it. It does make sense for them. It's just, like you say, it's boring from a viewer's point of view.
Oh, it's dull. Two has-beens. That's harsh.
Mm,
No, I think Perez is now going to get redemption because actually we've seen everyone else struggle in the Red Bull.
yeah,
He's on a redemption arc, unbelievably. So I'm actually more okay with him than Bottas because Bottas, I just think his racecraft has. You could say, oh, he's quick at qualifying, Mercedes race driver, reserve driver with race winner, podium finisher. But we've always joked for many years that in a battle he sort of jumps out of the way
yeah,
or fails to send it down the inside.
yeah, exactly. I agree with you as well. I think Perez was the one who was always going to be in there for the money more than anything else. But he's also the more interesting driver of the two.
Yeah,
Whereas I think Bottas will be brilliant for their social media.
yeah, yeah, but that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. But they have
However,
also announced Colton Herta, haven't they? As their
yes. So I was going to finish on this point, which is they
Mm.
do have one interesting driver. I think this is wonderful, and I wish they would have taken a punt and put him in the driver's seat. Although maybe it's not possible with super license points. I don't know. But
He's
Colton
5 points
Herta,
short.
yeah. So Colton Herta, who's flirted with Formula One for a while, he's going to leave Andretti in IndyCar
Hmm.
after an okay season, not amazing. His 2024 season was better. Um, so he's leaving a plum drive in
Yeah.
IndyCar to not just be a test driver at Cadillac, but take part in Formula Two,
Yeah.
which is
But
wild. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that works out because that is
yes,
the biggest risk of his career,
it
no
is. But
question.
at the same time as well, being the reserve test driver means that he's going to get FP1 outings, and you do get one super license point for every FP1. So
So we're building
he
him up if he
should
has a good
earn
year.
enough points just from that, essentially, and then what he gets from F2 is a bonus. But if he's rubbish in F2,
It's
they're
career
not
ending.
going to want to bring him up. So
No, but the opportunity's there. I love the
yes,
fact that he was like, there's a sniff of F1 here. I'm doing it. And
yeah,
Formula
I
2 is
love
so
that as
brave
well.
and bold. I think it's amazing.
Hmm.
I do think you're up against some whippersnappers that might show him up.
Yeah. And the other bit of news I saw was that McLaren have got MasterCard as their title sponsor next year.
So Zach Brown's done an amazing job of selling 1,000,006 sponsors,
Yeah.
but not a title sponsor up until now. So the McLaren MasterCard F1 team.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't roll off the tongue. I find it boring when they add these names in, but financially it's brilliant for them. And I say Vodafone was the last one that they had. So it's
Yeah,
been quite a long time.
too long. And it's also a bit of risk for MasterCard because I'm pretty sure they're paying a premium for that as they are the dominant team this year. But new rules for next year, who knows?
But yes, they could lose to Visa Cash App. Oh,
Exactly. And also, what was that? Was it a Lola or what was that team? Is in the 2000s that was
it was
sponsored
Lola.
MasterCard? Yeah, bad
Yeah.
memories.
Yes, completely. There's one more thing I need to point out, just for Colin's point of view as well. Did you listen to the race on Sky?
No,
No,
Channel
I
4
didn't
all
think
the way
so.
for this one.
But yeah, when Leclerc got past whoever it was, Russell, I think at that time, and was then closing in on Hadjar, and Crofty went, "Leclerc is coming at you if you're Isaac Hadjar."
Oh my God!
I literally shouted at the telly.
You have
It
to
was-
pay 30 quid a race for that.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God. And not only that, Leclerc didn't catch him or get anywhere near him. But
He's coming at you if it had you. He's thought about that overnight, hasn't he?
yeah, that's what worries me more. If it's off the cuff, I can always forgive it, but I'm sure that was rehearsed somehow. Just for Colin that one. So he can rant about it himself.
Yeah, I will leave it there because we've gone long, but that is
Yeah.
abysmal. And on that terrible note, thank you for listening. All right. Speak next time.
Yep. Have fun. Have fun. I don't know what that was.
Oh, I don't know. I was saying see you next time or something.